I'm Bobby Smith. Today is Wednesday, June 24th, 2020. I got John McCrea on the line. After much assistance and lots of love from his family, we've landed this plane. And,
Sure. Hi there.
And I'm ready to talk. So I just want to first start off by saying that I'm very proud to introduce John to you today as my guest here on Comic Book Corner Question Session. A few weeks ago, I reviewed Dead Eyes, and it's a collaboration between Jerry Dugan and John McCrea, available from Image right now. This trade paperback is available right now. Check with your local comic book store, guys. And if you can't find it there, check first your local comic book store. But if you can't find it,
your local comic shop.
Yes. Yeah, last resort, go online, but do get this, okay? And get yours today. Yeah. And if you listen close to the show today, as John and I chat, at the end of the interview, I will tell you how you can get this one right here, and I will send it to you, okay? All right.
Very cool.
Let's start here, John. Give us a general rundown, really, really briefly, of what are all the characters that you've had the chance to illustrate during your career.
No, right. Okay. Well, I started out working in the UK, obviously, for mainly for Fleetway and such like. So I worked with Garth Ennis first with Untroubled Souls, and then we did a character called Chopper, who was a Dread kind of anti-hero within the Dread universe. Then another character called Midden-Face McNulty. That wasn't with Garth by this point. Midden-Face McNulty, who's a sort of Strontium Dog character. Then on to doing some Dread stuff. Then I moved over to DC and worked on the Demon and Hitman for DC. Also, while I was doing that, drew a bit of Wonder Woman, Superman, Jenny Sparks for Wildstorm, but this was when DC had bought Wildstorm. So that, the Monarchy, which was through that.
Yeah.
Then I did a bit of Marvel work and did Wolverine and Spiderman and the Hulk, but also I've also done things like The Simpsons and Scooby-Doo.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Oh sure, yes. Garth and I did a Bart Simpson's Treehouse of Horror.
I got to get that.
And I did a couple of Scooby-Doo, it's good fun. And I always wanted to draw The Simpsons, mainly because you get Simpsonized.
Right.
You know, in the back of the comic, they draw you as a Simpsons character. So that was a little sort of moment of
it's a payoff in itself, you know.
Yeah, they didn't really have to pay me a page rate, but that was not, you know. But don't tell them that.
All right, no, never, ever. Here,
never
we'll
tell the publisher that you'd be doing this for free anyway. Though actually, you know, Christ, you know, now that I've got a roof over my head that I have to keep over my head and such like, and family and whatnot, then well, that's maybe not so true.
I've got to track down your Wolverine too, man, because I saw that picture you posted on Facebook the other day, and that blew my mind. I was showing it to people all over the place, holding my phone up and showing it to people, and I didn't know you had drawn him in the book. Yeah.
You know, I drew an issue of X-Men 11. It was started last year, and that was a Wolverine story. He didn't wear his costume, mind. He's always in his jacket. And I prefer it if he was in his costume. I love Wolverine's costume.
Oh, clearly. I love that picture, yeah.
Thank you. Well, yeah, and I did an issue of Wolverine pre that, but honestly, I think it was possibly in one of my darker times when I maybe wasn't as happy with myself or something. Right. It's not my greatest work, but
I understand.
You know, it's not awful, but it's not my greatest work.
It's weird though, also the way that our psychology affects it, you know, as artists, it affects our view of the art we produce at that time. And there's some kind of weird connection that sometimes, no matter how beautiful the art is, sometimes we kind of have a weird feeling about art that did come out during darker times and stuff. Or we love art that came out the day we met our girlfriend or our wife or whatever. You know?
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yes, when it's good times. Yeah, you know, the struggling artist in his garret thing is, you know, and always has to be poor and unhappy to produce real art. I don't see it. Usually when I'm miserable, if I try to put pen to paper, it's a disaster. So I'd much rather be happy. I'd much rather be happy.
I'm a weird guy. I balance the line between trying to make myself miserable and then trying to cure it, you know? So it's like I need to like walk a very thin line, you know, in order to produce
Okay.
art.
Okay. Slightly masochistic.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Uh,
well.
well, that's an amazing rundown on characters, man. I remember.
Yeah, I think that there's others, but those are
No, go
the
ahead. Go
main.
ahead because I will say because I want to
Oh
tell you, I
no,
want to talk
no.
about a couple specific, but I'm it's
Right.
mind blowing. I remember when you drew Spider-Man with Garth writing on the Thousand for
Oh
Tangled
yes,
Web, and I
yes.
was so happy that you guys were on that book. You know,
Yeah, that was great fun. That was great
who
fun. I think that was my first real shot at Spidey, and he is my favorite superhero. So,
probably mine
uh,
too, man. Probably mine too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I'm a
So
right I'm an old Marvel zombie
Me
from
too.
way
That's
back.
what that's what I grew up reading. In fact, and it's weird because my uncle read DC, and that's where I really had access to my comics the most as a really little kid. And I would dig through piles and piles and piles of now comics that I wish I could get my hands on again of these old DCs, just looking
Oh
for an
yeah,
occasional, you know, Fantastic Four or Warlock or something.
sure.
And you know, that's also how I discovered Neil Adams, though, because I would be going through these books and not caring, and I'd look at one and go, "Hey, wait, what is that?"
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. He did some unusual stuff while he was working for DC, didn't he? Like Legion of Superhero covers
hmm
and things like that.
And
You go. Well, I
Brian,
suppose I mean, I have a fondness for the Legion, not as
right?
much as my eldest son, who's a huge Legion fan.
Uh-huh.
The cornier, the better.
Oh, right
Uh,
on.
he loves the old '60s Legion.
Is
So.
is he? How does he feel about the new stuff from Bendis?
Oh, he hasn't seen that yet.
It's
Not
good.
that
I
I'm
like
aware
it.
of.
It's good. I like. Of course, the art's good. They got Ryan Sook on there and stuff. But
Oh,
I
he's
like
very good.
I like
Yeah,
what they're doing.
yeah, yeah.
So who is your all-time favorite character to work on out of all those in the past that you have worked on, even if it's one you haven't named yet? Who like who was your the like was it Spider-Man? Who was the character that you're like, yes, I got to do it?
Well, I think to a degree, there's got to be a certain amount of satisfaction in the job done, as well as it just being a character that you love the most.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so probably it the I feel that my work is at its best that it's ever been. Right now, I feel that I've improved steadily over the years, and in the last few years, a fair bit more than that. Um, so probably something like Dead Eyes or
Mm-hmm.
maybe Mythic, the last two
Mm-hmm.
creator-owned books I did for Image. I also did a thing called The Spider recently for Rebellion. And Rebellion are the people who own 2000 AD now,
Mm-hmm.
and they're reprinting these old, or they're not reprinting, they're bringing out new stories of these classic old characters that were originally owned by another comic company, and they bought up all the licenses for them,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're re-releasing these new characters with new stories. And I did the Spider, who's this written by Rob Williams, and he's this sort of super villain character who's the star, but he's kind of a mad techno fiend who wants to rule the world, really.
Oh, right on. Is
As you
that
would.
available now?
It is available now. It's in a thing called the Smash Special.
Okay.
And my and Rob's story is 8 pages long. And I really enjoyed working on that. And I think it did some really quite nice stuff in that too.
I'll track that down.
And some of my Dread stuff recently has been pretty good. I did a 5-parter with Wagner last year, about the Mechanismo robots, and I think I did some pretty nice stuff in there too. It's been released in a trade paperback that I can't remember the name of.
I'll
So
track it down. I'll track it down and I'll throw it in the links and stuff. When
Machine Law, It's called
Machine Law,
Machine Law.
cool.
Yeah,
I'll find it.
the old brain drags it up eventually. So,
Dividing.
yeah, so that's sort of the yeah, anything that I've worked on recently, I feel that that's probably my best work. I mean, probably the feather in my caps type of stuff is working on Spider-Man,
Oh,
really,
gotcha.
because and probably the thing that I'll be most remembered for is probably Hitman.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
just due to due to it being a great story and a great character. I mean, it's my favorite thing that Garth has ever written, and that's
One of mine as well.
not because I worked on it. In fact, that would usually be a negative against it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not the greatest fan of my own work. So, but it was 60 odd issues, and I drew nearly all of it. I missed one issue, but that's a solid run. And
that's unheard of, man.
Well, no, that's not true. No, Charlie Adlard would have words with you.
Yeah. Beautiful stuff on The Walking Dead.
You could dig him out of a ditch or whatever he lives in. It's Eric Larson might give you a clip.
Mind blowing.
Yeah. Or even those dudes who Invincible. I mean, so there's been some pretty great runs. Or if you go back and talk to Sal Buscema or Jack Kirby.
I was talking the modern age because
those dudes could get the work done. But
absolutely.
I myself have physically not got the strength to do a 60-page run anymore. I don't know how Charlie Adlard and I are about the same age, and the fact that Charlie's just done 200 odd issues of The Walking Dead. Every week, every month without fail, staggers me completely. Him and Sean Phillips are my sort of role models as far as
I love Sean Phillips
goes. Just solid, doing the work every month without fail, always looks good.
The first episode. The first comic review show I ever did was about the latest 12-issue run of Criminal, and I was raving about Sean's art and the overall process of the book itself, but just Sean's art. I've been amazed with it for years and years as well. And Charles.
Yeah, I know they're just so damn solid and damn professional, and it just makes me sick.
The first time I read Charlie's stuff was in the X-Files books. Did you ever see those little X-Files from Topps?
I did. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I remember those. Those books sold like a bazillion copies an issue, didn't they?
Because I loved them, and Charlie was the reason why. Other than the X-Files name on them, his art was what kept me coming back.
Right. Yep. Charlie's in the Smash Special as well, by the way.
Oh, really? Right on. I got to get it then.
Doing the Steel Claw, and it looks great as well.
You were talking about Hitman being your most famous character, and also a proud moment. I love that book particularly because it was a big thing for me in the 90s. It's still one of my overall favorite books. Like you said, one of my favorites that Garth has ever written, one of my favorites that you've drawn. And one of the things I love about it is the process that the slyness of you and Garth Ennis and trying to and what you were getting away with and the way you were pushing things around issue by issue. I could almost hear editors telling you can't do this, you can't do this, and then you guys going back, okay, well then we'll do this instead.
Yeah, we got plenty of that for sure. We made new friends in the Batman office.
I bet.
I've told this story before, but there was a point I heard in the grapevine. I mean, the Bat office originally in issue 1 when Tommy throws up on Batman.
Yeah.
It was originally drawn where you saw all the spew on Batman.
That'd have been awesome.
With all the carrots and things sticking out of it. And the Bat office went, no, you can't show that. It's disrespectful to Batman. So we had to do it off panel where he throws up on his boots instead of on his chest. But we heard later that the Bat office really wishes they didn't want us to do any of it, and they wish they had never let us do any of it. Cat signal, stuff like that.
Right.
There were lots of things that we were to do and we weren't allowed to do, and there was a lot of things that especially language, Garth, not bad language per se, but more sort of slang language that means something in the UK but doesn't really mean anything to you guys.
Absolutely.
Generally sort of it's all schoolboy humor.
Oh yeah.
But that's what Garth and I love, the two of the large to go.
that
It's
subversive
so
slyness of it is what's is part of the humor, you know,
yes,
of
yes.
cross culture, you know, stuff like that.
Sure,
Uh,
sure. So yeah, there were a lot of things that we sort of got away with just because the editorial staff didn't know what the hell we were saying. But the UK people who read it sure did, and probably some Americans who maybe were a bit more
right.
Anglophile.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anglophilic, is that a word?
Yeah.
Anglophilic?
Yeah. I would say it definitely is.
Anglophiles. Anyway, they were
Exactly. The
Anglophiles.
Python fans.
Yeah, that's the ones. Yeah,
Um,
or the Hooers, I
but
suppose.
you know, here's the thing, man, is I love your art for the craziness and the energy that you bring to the page, whether it's action or some of the insanity, which we'll talk more about later. But
Sure,
also, I don't want to undersell your ability to deliver tender moments, because whether it's Tommy Monahan getting Superman's autograph in Hitman,
sure.
or whether it's in Dead Eyes and the whole relationship between, you know, the characters in that book,
Yep.
you really have the ability to deliver on the tender moments as well. And I don't want to undersell that, because I think
Well,
that that's
thank you
a
very
powerful
much.
part of why you are a force to be reckoned with in the comics world.
Thank you,
You like that?
James Bobby. Um, a force to be reckoned with.
That's
So
right.
I'll put that in my tombstone. Uh, uh, you know, I'm not sure I believe it, but there you go. But thank you. Well, I think you know, I try to really make my characters act out and act
Clearly.
well, and you know, try to get a lot of body language
Hmm.
and sort of emotion through the faces as
Hmm.
well, and not just have everything bland. And
Right.
you know that's it doesn't. A lot of those sort of things don't make for like pages that people go, "Core, I'll give you 100,000 quid for that page," but I think to sell a story, you've got to be good at that sort of thing. I mean, it's and I think it's very important to storytelling. Uh, you know, which is you know being able to draw is fine and
Right.
dandy in comics.
But telling a story is
Um,
different.
well, yeah, that's the real object, isn't it? Really, of is telling the story as clearly and succinctly as possible, and trying not to get too overboard on the sort of show-offy detail. So
Right.
you know, we all. Well, I
So
mean, I know I do.
here's
I'm not saying
here's how I
everyone.
like when you show off. Here's how I like it, and that is you're talking about facial expressions and showing emotion on faces. In
Yep.
Dead Eyes #4, during the fight scene with the buzzsaw and all that, the dog's
Oh, sure.
expression on his face throughout that sequence, and then
That,
taking a shit at the end of it, absolutely kills me, dude. I mean, that is too much.
yeah, that dog. I worked hard on that dog's expression on that shot. I mean, what there was a. I was trying to draw when the guy gets his finger or fingers, I can't
Yeah,
remember,
yeah,
lopped
yes,
off by the
yeah,
buzzsaw.
yeah,
The dog is sort of looking, and
yeah.
then I was trying to get it so that you saw the dog eat his fingers,
Right.
but I just couldn't figure it into the whole
I
thing.
I think
So
it's better
because
that
I
he
could,
ignores them and stares at the reader. I think that's hysterical.
well, yeah, yeah, it's kind of like a huh in
Yep.
the real Scooby Doo
Yeah.
huh
Yeah.
in the camera
Yeah.
shot. So
Fucking humans, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What the hell? They kidnapped me, and then you know, it's so
So,
yeah. Thank
you,
you for noticing that.
you
The
know,
dog
when
was fun.
you laughed about me calling you a force to be reckoned with, you know, you don't get to be, you know, at your level and enjoy your success and stuff without having a history in comics. And I was wondering, you know, who you consider to be forces to be reckoned with. And I wanted to kind of think all the way back, if you wouldn't mind. I would like to go back to thinking about the very first comic book that you ever got, if you remember
Well, but
and wouldn't mind sharing.
yes, yes, of course. I mean, like any proper nerd, all of this stuff is smeared onto my cerebellum.
I get it.
So, you know, it's the first comic I ever got was Avengers #8, where they fight Kang. Now, this was the British reprints
I got you.
of the American stuff, which came out probably 5 years
Oh, really?
after
Okay.
your stories came out in general. Um, so I think I was 4 at the time or some, and my mom and dad bought it for me because I was always drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So they bought me a copy. They just saw it in the newsagent and thought, "We'll buy that for John. He likes drawing. This got lots of cool pictures in it." And that was it. I looked at it and I looked up at them and said, "This is what I'm going to do when I grow up."
Right
Um,
on.
and I just went, that was it. And there was nothing for the rest of my life. It was just comics. That's all I'm going to do when I grow up. There
Dude,
was
that is awesome.
nobody could dissuade me. And growing up in Belfast in Northern Ireland during the
Mm-hmm.
Troubles,
Mm-hmm.
the thought of somebody, my mom and dad, it didn't compute.
Yeah,
It just
I get
didn't
it.
compute. So
Oh,
so it was a little bit of a struggle, but I got there in the end.
so
So,
I grew up in
but
Kentucky, dude, and this is your interview, so I don't want to take the whole time telling my stories, but I think you'll relate to this as far as the
sure.
relationship between Belfast and Ireland and Kentucky overall. Is I grew up in Kentucky, and one day when I was a kid, my dad was like, so you thinking about what you want to do when you grow up? And
Uh-huh.
I said, yeah, I think I want to be an artist. And he
Uh-huh.
said, well, what do you mean by that? And I said, maybe be a painter. And he said, well,
Uh-huh.
shit, son, we got paints and brushes out in the garage. You can get started on this house. Very
That's
blue collar
that's great.
mentality. Did not
I
compute, like you
mean,
said.
yeah, I mean, it's not like my mom and dad didn't support my art. I
Right. Me
think they
too.
just didn't understand the
Drive.
comics aspect of it. It
I
was an
gotcha.
ungraspable thing, especially since they were made in America for the
Right.
most part. So how could I possibly blah 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 blah?
Right.
So but it was just, it's one of those things where if you know what you want and you work hard enough at it and make sure that you just don't take no for an answer, I think. Because I don't think there's, again, people, I'll do a sketch at a show or something like that, and somebody will go, "God, you're so talented." Well, that's amazing. I could never do that. And you just go, well, it's not really talent. What it is somebody at 4 years old who was always scribbling realized what they wanted to do and
Yeah.
just spent all their waking hours doing that thing.
Right.
And so if you spend like a bazillion hours just drawing, even if you start out all being able to just draw a wobbly line, after a bazillion hours, you will be a pretty damn good artist, especially if you look at your stuff subjectively.
Yeah.
If I decided to become a concert cellist, uh, I'd probably be a pretty decent concert cellist by now.
Right.
I might be like, I might be in the Birmingham Symphony. I don't know.
Right.
I don't think I'd ever be an amazing concert cellist. I don't think I'd be on telly doing my own TV shows,
Mm-hmm.
or if concert cellists ever get their own
Like
TV shows. I
more
don't
of
know.
a team player.
Yeah, that's what it. Yeah, but it's that sort of thing. But I think that I'd probably be pretty good. So
Right.
it's just one of those things where you kind of, it's just the hours and the determination and the focus, really.
There's
And
something
that's
about
what
embracing our passions. There's something
yeah.
about embracing our passions.
Well, yes, absolutely. I just loved comics so much from that very second that I read that Avenger. I think it was probably just the cover. I mean, Jack Kirby drawing Kang versus
Amazing.
the Avengers, and I think as soon as I saw the cover with all that fantastic type and colors, and that was it for me. I mean, I understand these days why kids don't read comics so much. I
Right.
mean, it makes total sense to me because there's so much competition.
Right.
For me, there wasn't, this is what was this? So there was back then. There was TV, but they didn't have decent special effects or anything.
Right.
It was
Right.
all pretty shabby.
Yeah.
So that was your thing. So yeah, and I just knew I wanted to be a part of it.
Do you have a favorite artist today? Like, is it somebody from the comics world that's operating today, or is it somebody from the past, like Kirby? Who do you hold
Well,
up right now as being like your favorite all-time artist?
I think that my all-time favorite artist is probably Steve Ditko.
Oh, really? Right
Um,
on.
but yeah, I love Ditko. I mean, Avengers 8 was my first comic, but then I think my next was Spiderman. And it was while Ditko was drawing Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the moment I realized I loved Ditko more than anybody else was, I think it's issue 28 of Spider-Man where he fights Kraven the Hunter. I'm not
Oh,
sure if it's
right on.
28.
Yeah, I know
And
what you're
it's
talking
the
about.
one where it's the one in the old abandoned building. There's a whole lot of mob guys and things out
Mm-hmm.
to get Spidey, and Kraven's there as well. But it wasn't even that. It was the sequence before that where Betty Brant uh, is facing off to Peter Parker and saying, "You've
Mm-hmm.
got this big secret, Peter." And Peter jumps onto the wall and runs up the wall and hangs from the ceiling and goes, "It's because I'm Spider-Man," and rips open his shirt. And Betty Brant goes, "God, no." And I was reading this going, "What? How can he reveal his secret identity?" And I turned the page and it was all a dream. And,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's such a cliche now, but whatever I was, 6, 7, I don't know.
It's
It was
storytelling power.
amazing. And
Yeah.
just the way that Ditko drew it and the power of it was just, it just sold me. And his Spider-Man, that lithe, muscular figure, the way he drew him moving was just, it's my Spidey. I
Yeah.
mean, Ditko's a problematic character at
Right.
best, you know,
Right.
himself, but or was, should I say?
Right.
But you know, I can to a degree separate the man
Me
from
too.
the art, and
Sometimes
yeah.
generationally, we almost have to.
Well, yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I
So
did. I thought that was an exciting thing about when McFarlane took over Spider-Man in the 90s. I always thought that it was a nice kind of return to that more fluid kind of Ditko-ish, style of art.
you know, yes, absolutely. I see it now. When the time period you're talking about with Marvel, I had pretty much given up on Marvel. I
Right.
think I started when I was about 8. Well, when I was about 16, I started reading things like Mage and
Mm-hmm.
Cerebus and
Yeah.
Love and Rockets and things. These new comics that were coming in. Now we didn't have them in. We didn't have a comic shop in Belfast, but I occasionally went over to London. Very occasionally, but either my dad would we would all jump in the car and take the ferry over to Scotland and drive down to London, and then hang around in London for a couple of days during the summer holidays or whatever. I had an aunt who lived there in London and a couple of cousins and things. So I would go into town, into the centre of London, and go to Forbidden Planet and
Mm-hmm.
Comic Showcase, which were the two big comic shops in London, and just immerse myself. And all these new independent titles were coming through around that time. And I started picking up, I'd be like, what's this? Never heard of this. And, Mage or Love and Rockets. I think my
Right.
first issue of Love and Rockets was issue 14. I think I picked it up with issue 14. And I suddenly realized that there were stories that weren't about superheroes and
Mm-hmm.
such like. And by the time and I started to flag on Marvel. We're in the 90s, the late 80s was no, it was the late 80s. It was 85, 84, 85, and and Marvel was getting all very chromium covers
Right.
and that new style of that Liefeld and
Right.
McFarlane brought in, and it
Right.
didn't gel for me. I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't like it. So I quit in Marvel around then. Also, I started running a comic. I opened Belfast's first comic shop,
Oh, really?
and and so I could get all, and it was just to get the comics I wanted cheaper. That's all the only reason I did it, because I always knew I was going to be a comic artist.
Right.
Um, but
I love
but
that.
yes, so I really started focusing on indie
Mm-hmm.
stuff at that point, Concrete and
Mm-hmm.
Mage and
Mm-hmm. Beautiful
Love and
stuff.
Rockets and what have you, and just reading that sort of stuff, and I kind of gave up on Marvel. But I know what you mean about Todd McFarlane because now I look at his stuff, and of course, when the first Spider-Mans that came out with Todd doing it,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people thought it was a bit of a joke. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
especially
Mm-hmm.
the dialogue and whatnot. But and I look at it now and I see what you mean about that
Mm-hmm.
Ditko thing. He really did bring back that really organic flowing
Yeah.
figure and those crazy big eyes, and
Right.
he brought a lot of Ditko back to it, which I see now in retrospect. But
And
at the time, it wasn't for me.
it's so funny because I had given up on comics a few years before that. I went through this period around 16 or 17 where I was out of comics. And
Yeah,
a friend of mine kind of drew me back in, and he drew me back in initially with stuff like that was coming out from pre-Vertigo DC, like Shade the Changing Man,
sure.
and stuff like that. And one day he showed me a copy. He's in, here's what's going on at Marvel right now. And he showed me a copy of McFarlane Spider-Man, and I was like, ooh, I like that,
Right. Yeah. It's yeah. I don't. I mean, I still occasionally read Marvel stuff these days, but there's just so much product out there now that
Totally.
it's just impossible
Yeah.
to pick up. I mean, yeah, well, obviously things are different now.
Yeah.
Marvel, everybody's kind of kind of retracted back a bit, and I don't know how many books Marvel's putting out now, but it isn't like it was it?
No,
So
not at all.
again, the industry's in a bit of a odd place. I mean,
My
but then which industry isn't?
my first like pulls like for my books in the past 5 years have all been generally image stuff, and like you said, kind of because the Marvel stuff, it does
Yep,
get cyclical as well, where you start to recognize the cycle in the X-Men and stuff. And I
sure.
really I kind of enjoyed the Powers of 10 and House of X last year from Jonathan Hickman. I thought that was
Uh,
a nice twist on it all, but in general, my tastes have kept me going to stuff like Dead Eyes.
oh, well, bless you, sir.
So,
Bless you, sir.
and I want to focus more on that, but also I know that one of the ways I discovered you was because I was a huge fan of Preacher, and that got me into Garth Ennis real deeply. So when Hitman came out, it was a no brainer. I automatically went into it. What's the relationship between you and Garth? How did you guys meet, get to know each other, and is there ever anything else coming up in the future with you guys?
Well, the we met going back to the comic shop. Garth was in my brother's year at school,
Oh, I gotcha.
um, and my younger brother, and I knew of him, and he knew of me because we both were interested in comics, though he was interested in war comics, and
Yeah.
I was interested in superhero comics.
Oh,
There's a
right on.
shocker, huh?
Yeah.
Garth interested in war comics. Who
Yeah.
knew?
Right.
And though we both read 2000. Uh, so, but when I opened my comic shop, he would come in and buy his comics
Right
from me.
on.
And that's where we came together to do Troubled Souls for
Mm-hmm.
Fleetway, which is our first collaboration together, really. Well, it's not entirely our first collaboration because we did another comic, a 4-page story that before Troubled Souls that appeared in Deadline magazine,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be reprinting in my Kickstarter,
Cool.
um, which is coming up soon.
Yeah,
Um,
let's talk more about
uh,
that in a minute too.
but yeah, we'll cycle on to that, I guess. But yeah, so he knew that I was trying to break into comics, and in fact, I'd had a couple of stories already published. I think I had done a few stories for British Marvel Action Force GI Joe,
Oh, right on.
um, uh, and then let me get this right. And then I did a short, then I did a Future Shock for 2000 AD. So I was getting bits of work. But 2000, we're publishing a sister comic to it called Crisis, which was a political
Mm-hmm.
thing. And it was having a bit of trouble. And Garth said, why don't we pitch a story about the troubles in Northern Ireland? Two guys from North
Cool.
Belfast doing a story about Northern Ireland. It's a surefire winner. And, everybody who came into my shop who had ideas of writing for comics said those very words pretty much. I've got this idea for a
Yeah.
story. So when Garth
Right.
said that, I was just like, yeah, sure.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, put my name to it, but, fine. And sure enough, he sent it in and they were very interested. So the next thing we know, we're both over in London. They've flown us over and sat us down and said, can you really do this? And they, and chat to us about it and our ideas and
That's
whatnot.
cool.
And yeah, and that was that. That was really from there. Our creative partnership was born. So yes, yes. So that's how we met. I mean, and got together. So opening the comic shop not only got me cheap comics, but teamed me up with Garth. So
Right, yeah.
so it's not such a bad thing. And that's one of those things about it's one of those things about luck that because when you mentioned about me breaking into comics, and I deliberately don't use the word luck because I don't believe in luck particularly.
Me
It's
either.
hard work and
Absolutely.
making your chances. And by
We
opening
create
that
our own
comic
luck.
shop, yeah, and by opening that comic shop, I sort of set up that to happen.
Absolutely.
Who knows what would have happened if I hadn't? I'd still have got into comics, but
Right.
would it have worked? And so would Garth, most likely.
Right.
Well, not most likely, definitely. Just it might have been a different sort of channels, and who knows what could have been.
There's some advice in there, if, for viewers out there who are watching. It goes back to what we were saying earlier. Embrace your passions. Go for it. Find the different ways that you can get involved in whatever it is that you love. And make sure that you're in touch with that community, and you can build your own luck. You can allow good things to happen.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, I made my own community. There were a few other like-minded people that I had started to hang out with in the comic scene that I had found out about a little bit. There was a guy called Paul Trimble and Adrian Lutton, these two guys. I met Adrian at art college, and he was into comics. And of course, I met him at art college. I lasted 2 months at art college and then dropped out because there was pace. But
Right.
But Adrian stuck it out because he's tougher than me. Yeah, so I was hanging out with them, and we were drawing comics and making comics and talking about comics. Paul he had a bookstore in this little town way out of town, and he started selling some comics out of the top of the bookshop. But then I opened my comic shop in Belfast, and and it's kind of just and then Will Simpson, who lives in Northern Ireland, he was there. And I was hanging out with him a bit and going around to his house and, inking backgrounds and Judge Dredd, all these sorts of things. Just you make your community, you meet your community,
100%.
and you kind of make your luck and make things happen. I mean, I
totally
love
agree.
reading old stories about guys like Walt, Walt Simonson and all these guys from the 70s and Starlin and things like that, and the stories they tell about themselves in New York and living in New York and just all working together in this one house, and Wrightson and guys like that, all working together, all work, inking each other's work and helping each other out, then going out and partying afterwards and living and going to these, and those parties that they used to have, at Halloween, the fancy dress ones that were immortalized in those Batman stories that Neil Adams drew as well.
Right.
All that stuff was it's just so brilliant when you read about these guys and hear them talking about their history and their growing up and it really is just, it's almost better than reading comics, reading that stuff, reading about Joe Kubert in the 40s and things like that, and Kirby, and just going from one sort of sweatshop type place to another and bouncing around at 14 years old or whatever, and just being ultra brilliant, but being exploited like crazy, or working for Eisner, or just all that sort of stuff is just so exciting and
did you read the Bad Weekend run of Criminal from Brubaker and Phillips?
I haven't read it yet. No, I haven't read it yet. Sorry, Sean.
No, you will love it. You'll love it because of what it is in regards to what we were just talking about.
Right. Okay. It hits on all those notes.
It does.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. Like with Garth and you on Hitman, who this is a question. This is like me being a fan right here and just asking, who created Hitman? What was the process on that? Was that Garth, you, or both?
Well, it was basically we were working on the Demon,
right?
And DC were doing one of their giant intercompany giant crossover.
Bloodlines.
Do you remember it? Yes. Most people wish to forget it. But there
Yeah,
you
well,
go.
I've got that. I've got that issue of the demon. So.
Yes, yes. Well, it's uh, the yeah. So we had to create a character for that, and Garth wanted
Nice.
to create a character called Hitman,
Hmm.
and that was as easy as that. Really, he
That's
just wanted
hilarious.
a cool guy with a gun who shot people.
And
Uh,
a jacket and
Yeah,
sunglasses.
I mean, I came up with the sort of vague look, the long jacket, two-tone thing, those funny things on his
Yeah,
collar
yeah,
that
yeah.
I could never decide what they really were.
Doesn't
I
matter.
just I put them there because I thought he needed something to separate him from just
Right.
another guy in a jacket.
Visual flair.
Little H's on the side of his cuffs,
Right.
shit like that, with the sort of semi-bullet holes on the sides of the
Right.
H's. Crap like that. Just, he wouldn't wear that
Right.
in real life.
No.
No way.
Right.
But it for a comic, just to give it that little bit of something to make him stand out a little bit from the rest. So that was, yeah. I guess he had the red scarf originally,
Right. Yeah.
which was very 80s or
Right.
and
Absolutely.
very bad, very very bad. Yes, Garth and I, when Hitman got, like issue 1 was going to come out, Garth just called me and said, "We'll get rid of the scarf, okay, John?" And I was like, "Yes, yes,
That's
no
funny.
arguments there." No
That's funny. Yeah, we're turning the page. Let's head towards the 90s. Or yeah,
Yeah,
2000s,
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. Yeah, let's get rid of the red flowing scarf for shit's sake.
Well,
Jesus.
I love what you're drawing there right now. That's our guy Dead Eyes, right?
Yeah. Just sort of noodling away at a Dead Eyes picture.
So let me jump over to that real quick and tell me about your partnership with Jerry Dugan. How did that one happen?
I met Jerry I knew Jerry's work and met him at a con in Dublin, run by the Big Bang comic shop.
Okay.
John Hendrick, and this is a guy I knew from there, and they invited. It was a great show. I loved their comic show. It's sadly not happening anymore. Just due to, this is pre-COVID.
Gotcha.
It stopped, but it ran for a good few years. And the Big Bang's a great shop. If you're in Ireland, go to the Big Bang and buy your shop comics there.
I'll throw a link for them up on in the comments section for this as well.
Yeah, cool. And they're in the South Ireland, just outside of Dublin. And cool. I met Jerry in the pub. We had a chat. He was a fan of my stuff, which was nice. I was surprised. I'm always surprised when somebody in comics who's reasonably well known actually knows me or likes my stuff. I'm always slightly taken aback a bit. But I understand that people know my work, but there's a difference between knowing your stuff and liking your stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
well, it's a nice combination of humility and fandom there. You're showing that you're still a fan of the comics world and you're still humble about your work. I think that's awesome. Dude.
Well, I'm I could be doing this just to bullshit you, to sound all like look how humble and
yeah.
But
I'm no kind of artist.
It's honestly true.
No, I appreciate it. I believe in the sincerity of what you're saying, dude.
Jerry and I
100%.
Thank you. Jerry and I sort of said we'll have to work together, and after a couple of years of chatting a little bit here and there about things, we finally decided we needed to get something out there. Jerry sent me a couple of pitches for, sort of synopses of things. And this guy was the one that jumped out at me. He appealed to me. Obviously I came up with the look of him. Jerry suggested the flat cap, which I honestly didn't think would work and was surprised at how well it works. Mm-hmm. So yeah, nice one, Jerry.
I never would have dreamed of that either, but you're right. Once you see it, it works.
It really does. It really does. It's kind of maybe that's the whole Peaky Blinders thing going on or something. Right. I don't know. But anyway, it works really nicely. And yeah, we just wanted it to be funny and poignant and also romantic. You know, that
Hmm.
I wanted it to be a real. You know, a lot of the time in comics or anything, it's the it's the you see characters who aren't a partnership, and
Right.
it's all about the sort of them getting together or not
Right.
getting together.
Right.
But I wanted these guys to be like solidly together and
Yeah.
had been for years, and just that idea of a really nice couple who really still loved each other
Hmm.
immensely after all this time, and the actual sort of relationship was solid as a rock. And then, but it was everything else that was the problem around it. But
Right.
it's just to have that core of this really solid relationship, and you don't see that often in comics. You know, it's
No.
all about sort of broken relationships or possible
100%.
relationships or things like that. And I wanted a nice, solid core of that.
And I think
And
it's important on this book because
Jerry
it does,
went
it
with
gives it
that.
heart. You know, it's like
Yeah,
you can take this guy who's not necessarily a hero and still give him heart and a code. And I think that
yeah,
that's very nicely explored.
yeah. I mean, those sort of flawed character guys are great. I mean, Tommy was your kind of he was a hero in a lot of in some ways, and just a nasty piece of work in others. And this
Absolutely.
guy is maybe not quite so extreme as, you know, he's, well, he does some pretty brutal bloody
I was gonna
stuff, actually, thinking about it. Does some
say.
pretty bloody brutal stuff, but at the same time, he's got that really solid heroic core, and
Right.
he's looking out for the little guy, and that's sort of what that's all about at the center of it.
And I had a
So
question
yeah,
like related to like that, as far as like you coming into the story with these already established relationships and stuff, which I do think is wonderful because it does provide an emotional core and some heart in the book. Do you guys have long-term plans? Like, have you and Jerry talked about if ultimately, if everything worked out, like how far you would want to take it, or would it just be indefinite?
uh, well, we're not 100% sure at the moment. We did have more solid plans, but everything's been a bit shifting
Totally.
grounds
100%.
over the past couple of years, and now especially. And so we're kind of left a little bit up in the air. And honestly, that's part of the reason why, as I mentioned earlier, I'm doing this Kickstarter, because it's basically what I'm doing is when I in the UK at Christmas, you used to get these Christmas annuals, which were reprints of comics
Hmm.
in hardback, but
Right on.
also but in them they also had things like articles and interviews and puzzle
Hmm.
pages and all this sort of stuff.
Hmm.
And I loved those and getting them at Christmas. So that's what this is. It's called The Mighty World of McCrea,
Mighty World of
and
McCrea.
Mighty World of McCrea, and it's reprinting all my old creator-owned stuff, which I've done
Awesome.
over the past 30 odd years of my career. And there's a lot, um, but it's also interspersed with a little bit of new stuff. Jerry and I are doing a brand new comic that's going into it as well, plus some other stuff. Plus, it'll have puzzle pages and articles and interviews and things. Um, and the Kickstarter's in August, and
Hmm.
then the book will be sent to people for Christmas. So it
Hmm.
is a Christmas annual, and there's going to be 4 of them,
Right
God
on.
willing. There'll be 4 of them, each one a year.
Right on.
Uh, and each one will be the Mighty World of McCrea Christmas Annual. So that's the plan. But the idea behind it is to make some money out of my
Absolutely.
old stuff so that I can
Nice.
then finance new stuff.
I get it.
Because yeah, as I'm sure you understand, somebody's car, that was quite the noise. Reminds me back in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, right.
Back in the day. But so uh, yeah, so you know, with the shifting sands of everything at the moment, work is tricky, and
Yeah,
so now everybody's having to look to the new normal. And
totally.
I think And I think the new normal for a lot of people is going to be doing things via Kickstarter or what have you. And I'm not alone, and I'm one of these people. So yeah, that's the plan, is to sort of produce stuff, try to raise a bit of funds so that we can pay for lettering and coloring and printing and whatnot, and then we'll see how things go with Dead Eyes. We have ideas and we want to do more. I've done an entire issue that's just sitting there, but it's part of a five issue arc. I'm trying to finish 5 issues.
I respect that as well.
Is tricky. So that's so yeah. So finances is the big major problem at the moment. So yeah, that's what my Kickstarter is doing.
I'll let all of our viewers know that, you know, obviously they're fans of your work as well if they're watching us right now. And I'm going to make sure that, you know, we post links for your Kickstarter, you know, for the Mighty World of McCrea as they come out. And I'll stay in touch with you behind the scenes on that. And then we'll make sure that we keep on getting the word out on Dead Eyes as well. And you got some serious fans in Southern California right now. There's an artist girl that works at the comic book store I go to a lot called Galaxy of Comics. Nice. And she is a super fan of your work, and she recommends it to people constantly as they come in and pushes your trade paperback. So there is a network of us out there pushing Dead Eyes.
Cool. What's her name?
It's slipping my mind right now because it's not in my notes. But I'll find out. I'll find out. Exactly, I am. I'll find out, and I'll send it to you behind the scenes, and I'll let her know. I'll let her know. I'm going to see her today, so I'll let her know we talked about her, and I'll get y'all.
Well, thank you from Galaxy Comics. you superstar. Bless you.
Yeah, she'll be thrilled to hear it that we were talking about her, and I definitely want to support the Mighty World of McCrea, the Kickstarter, and if you do 4 of them, I'm going to help you support all of them. And I definitely, like I said, am wanting to see Dead Eyes back in the in the stores.
Well, I mean, we've got a few ideas. I've got a little idea that Dead Eyes may appear in this Kickstarter as well. In the Mighty World of McCrea, the first one. We just have to nail down a few little things, but I don't think there'll be any problem there. So there may well be a little bit more Dead Eyes there.
I think it's a brilliant plan, dude, because I think the Kickstarter is going to appeal to a lot of folks like me who I've been a fan of your work for decades, but I don't have access to a lot of that old work, like you said. So this is an opportunity to dig into your vault. And I mean, to me, that's a thrill. Finding that out today is a real thrill. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've done it's surprising the amount of, I mean, I thought when I started digging out all the old stuff that I've done that I still own, I thought there'd be enough for, maybe a couple of books. I mean, because each book's 200 pages.
Right.
We're not talking about, it's not 60 pages. It's a 200-page hardcover.
That's
times
awesome.
4, so 800 pages. And while there are going to be articles and things like that, the majority of the books are going to be comics. And so, yeah, I've done a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff that I still own. I mean, because I've drawn a lot of superhero and work for hire stuff, and I guess that's what I'm mainly known for. But I was surprised at how much I have done, and I'm not reprinting Mythic, by the way. I mean, I own Mythic along with Phil Hester, but that's not going in because that's too recent. Plus,
I get it.
It's too much.
Well, I like the idea of getting into the vault personally. Like I said, to me, that's exciting,
Oh, well, we're going right back. I drew Mark Miller's first ever published story.
Oh, really?
So yeah, and that's going to be reprinted. Obviously, I drew Garth's first story, but not Troubled Souls. It was something just before in Deadline
magazine. 4-page?
Yeah, it was a little 4-pager. Yeah, and it appeared in Deadline magazine, and so that's going to be in there. And then there's a bunch of tons of stuff.
You got me excited, dude.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
I'm happy.
Well, I hope you enjoy it.
And I know that you probably have other things to do, and you've got family trying to probably get in your kitchen. But I just wanted a couple more minutes, if you don't care.
Oh, sure.
Because I wanted to just get out of comics for a minute, because I know that's not. I mean, it is probably most of your life outside of your family. But what else are you doing to keep yourself entertained, especially like during all this crisis? Like, is it Netflix, movies, TV? Are there any ongoing TV series that you're really into?
Well, when you've got three kids, a lot of the time you end up not watching what you would normally watch.
Right.
So I've been watching Anne with an E, which is the Anne of Green Gables
Okay.
Netflix TV show. And I tell you, it's great. I mean, I've got one more to go and then it's over because it was only 3 seasons. And I am pissed off that it's only lasted 3 seasons because it's fantastic. It's absolutely bloody brilliant. Talk about a tearjerker. Every episode, I'm weeping like a baby and
Nice.
laughing at the same time because it's so
Nice.
well done. The wee girl who plays Anne is so good. It's such a great show. So yeah, I've been watching that. Jesus, what else? Christ. Well, I did watch Jaws yesterday, the day before yesterday,
Right on.
because my eldest had never seen it. Well, neither had any of the other ones, but my eldest never seen it, and he's 17. And I figured that's a good age to watch Jaws. So we watched that, and that was great, of course. What a great movie. It's possibly my favorite movie ever, possibly.
I saw it in the theater when I was 6, and then when it came
Me
out on
too.
HBO, I watched it every time I could. And so I think I've seen it probably more than maybe any other movie.
Yeah. I watched Jaws a lot of times.
Just because of my childhood.
I think Blazing Saddles is the movie I've watched most of all ever.
That's funny.
It's possibly the most quotable movie that has ever been made.
We were just talking about it yesterday.
Yeah. And I've watched that movie so many goddamn times. But what else have I been watching on TV? Jesus.
Did you watch The Boys on Amazon Prime?
Oh, yes. Yes, I did.
What'd you think? I liked that, man. I really was surprised at how much I liked it.
It gets the big thumbs up. It was superb.
I absolutely expected to sit there and bitch about something as I watched it, and I bitched about nothing.
I'm right there with you. I kind of thought, well, it'll probably be a bit weak.
Watered down, right? Diluted.
Yeah, and everybody in it was superb.
Yeah.
The casting is immaculate. The writing is great. It follows the book enough that you're happy.
100%.
And the guy who plays the Homelander,
I was going to ask you.
Every time you watch him, you're shitting yourself wondering what evil crap he's going to do.
Have you ever seen Banshee on Cinemax?
Nah, people keep telling me.
You should watch it. You should watch it. It's nothing special. It's pulp novel. It's like reading a pulp novel or something.
Right. Uh-huh. Yeah. But he's in it.
That actor. Yeah, and he's the hook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anthony Starr. Anthony Starr.
Yes. And I mean, he's superb. Yeah, and that show was great. Yes, and I'm looking forward to number 2, I guess. The season
Me
2.
Too.
I keep thinking I should watch Watchmen.
It's good. You should. 100%. Especially with everything going on in the world right now, and it's out for free. They've got it available to watch for free. Watch it. You won't regret it.
Yeah.
You won't.
Yeah, that's what I keep saying. I mean, it's just the time factor.
100%.
None of my kids are gonna. Well, maybe my eldest would watch it, but when the other two are about, and I can't, geez.
Yeah, that's 9 hours. That's 9 hours of TV you've got to get control of.
Yeah, I gotta be. The trouble is the TV's just below my daughter's bedroom, and so I can't actually have anything on it, any volume. And what you're wearing, headphones. People keep saying headphones, but I mean, technology-wise, I'm a moron, so I have no idea how to link headphones to anything. It's I just sit there with headphones on and the TV on, and I'd be like, I can't hear it, and I'd have to turn the volume up.
Those are like noise dampening headphones.
Exactly. That's what it would generally be. I watched some sort of oh God, what's that show? Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Watched that recently because the kids were into it.
Right.
And it's bloody brilliant. Really good. Yeah, really enjoyed it. I
do like it when I kind of don't have the choice of the remote and I get pulled into somebody else's TV watching habit and I end up enjoying it. There's something special about that.
Yeah. Well, I if I hadn't had kids, I wouldn't have seen half of these bloody things.
Right.
The Marvelous Miss Maisel. as
I've
well.
not seen that, but I've heard a million times over that I need to see it.
Yeah, watched it with my wife, and it's terrific.
Did you happen to watch
She is great.
Fleabag? Fleabag's really good.
No, I haven't. Fleabag. What's Fleabag all about? I've forgotten.
Fleabag is this. It's a single girl, like I guess in like her early 30s in England, and she will occasionally break the fourth wall and talk to the audience. But she's kind of like she's got a stressful family. She's single. She's in dating situations and all this. It's a good personal drama, but it's comedy.
Okay.
The comedy is
Okay.
where it crushes it. And the girl who plays it, I can't think of her name right now, but she's wonderful. She wrote it, directed it. Ran it, stars in it, and you can tell it's her baby. We were talking about that embrace your passions thing earlier.
Sure.
You can tell that this is dripping with passion. It's her baby.
Well, those auteur types who can do all that stuff, do everything. They piss me off. But I'm sure it's fantastic.
It's funny. Artists piss me off. I was telling my friend this the other day. I was like, because my drawing sucks so bad. I've been drawing since I was 4 years old. 47 years of terrible drawing. And all my artist friends are like, no, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. And I'm like, it is. And I hate you guys because you say that it's not bad, and your art, you make it look easy, and I hate you.
Yeah, well, we all need somebody to hate, I suppose.
We all gotta hate somebody, man. That is 2020,
Yeah. Well, your president makes that easy. So
that was a perfect segue, man. That was exactly my next question. I wanted to ask you, as somebody who's not an American but has spent plenty of time over here, what do you I was asking another friend, a friend in Slovakia, who's working with me on a project right now, what he's thinking about America right now. What do you think about the current state of affairs over here?
Well, I'd think you were a disaster, only that we seem to be about 20 minutes behind you.
What's the deal? My God.
I think everything that's bad in America, the Brits just want to copy. We seem to, we're like, is that our special relationship? That we just want to copy all your bad habits. The one thing we've got going for ourselves is national health. Well, we don't have guns. We don't have guns, and we have a national health service.
Right.
We've got free healthcare.
But they're trying to throw pipe bombs and all that right now.
But they're trying to sell that all off. But I used to think that America was the greatest place on earth, and I still love New York. And I love everywhere I've ever been in America. And the nicest people, but then I meet the people I meet because they're my people.
100%.
And New York's different than America, in California too.
Yeah, I live in LA. Yeah,
parts of California are different than the rest of America, but the idea of living in America now is just you forget about it. I would never want to. I mean, people get sick and can't go to hospital because they haven't got insurance to cover it. People get COVID-19 and
there's so much denial.
Get presented with $1 million bill or whatever.
Insanity.
And then you've got freaking cops running rampant, and the place is a mess. And the sooner you get rid of 45 and replace them with somebody vaguely sane, at least let us catch our breath.
At least let us catch our breath, because we've been assaulted daily for 4 years.
Let's just get to the point where you get round to voting Ocasio-Cortez as president. And then maybe the world will be a bit more sensible again, because she's one clued up puppy, and Trump is such a fucking disaster. It's unbelievable. And the Republican Party, by dint of that, I mean, the Republican Party were the party against slavery originally,
right?
And
so many things are just like,
poof, and now they are just scum, as far as I can see. For the most part, it's the worst bunch of people brought together under the roof. They've
been driving themselves over the cliff, and I hope that that's where they are, is over the cliff and not at the end. What I would like to see, and we don't want to go all day on politics or conspiracies and stuff, but my world, I would love to see GOP disappear in America and take the existing Democratic Party, split it in two, and let all the corporatists become the new Republicans. and let Bernie and AOC and those guys be the actual real Democrats, because
yes, the real Democrats.
It's bullshit to call Bernie Sanders radical left. He's about as close to the center as you can really get in a realistic terms, you know.
Yep.
But,
yeah. I mean,
it's a whole other discussion.
Yeah. It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Hour 2.
Well, let's not go there, because
no.
I'm a political person. You cannot live in the world and not be political. And anybody who says they aren't are morons, I guess.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, my understanding is superficial, to say the least, and I will admit that, because I am no great thinker, but I can certainly see that the current situation is an absolute disaster, and you know,
and it seems like the bomb hasn't gone off. It seems like the fuse is lit. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen.
You've got some serious reform ahead of you if America wants to remain, well, like a country, I guess, you know.
I'm with you 100%, dude.
Smoldering hole in the ground.
I'm at the point right now where I live in California, and I'm not even kidding, where I would be fine if California said, if 45 were to continue, I would be fine with California pulling the plug and saying, we are our own country. F you guys.
Sure.
Work it out. You know?
Yeah. Well, we're going that way over here. We're going that way over here. I mean, we're going to probably get Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland uniting. We're probably going to get Scotland leaving, you know, because we've still got 4 more years of these bozos. At least you've got a chance now to get rid of them. So get out there and vote those fuckers out.
Is there a process like impeachment or removal for the PMs and stuff in the UK?
Sure, but you know, it's incredibly, like with Trump. You know, look at how much wrongdoing has he got up to?
Well, it's because they're like fucking ticks, man. You know, they get embedded like ticks. You know.
Yeah. So you know, who the hell knows? We got 4 more years. We got Brexit just rolling into view. You know, it's a
challenge.
It's a disaster. I don't know. We'll see.
Well,
let's see.
Man, John,
all you can do is your bit and try to talk sense and be decent.
I agree.
I hope that works.
I've got a bad habit of being. I like to use the phrase subversive incrementalist. You know, so we're like radical subversive incrementalism, to where you sit there and you try to shift people's opinions. If you go out and you tell somebody, vote Biden, they might not do it. But if you start asking them questions instead that lead them to Biden, you may get them there.
Sure, eventually.
So I try to do that in art too. I've always felt like with art that if you come at it heavy-handed with a message, people will walk away from it. Whereas if you tell them a big story and you bury a message in there, you may actually accidentally teach them, or they may accidentally learn a lesson.
Well, that's a big part of Deadeyes. Of course, is the American healthcare system is a big part of Deadeyes as well.
I'm so glad you guys put that in there.
But it's, as you said, it's part of the story, but we're not hitting you over the head with it.
Right.
There's still a great, fun story there. It just happens to be a part of the story, and it's a very important part. And it's
even the thing where he's paying, even the part where he's paying her roommate's TV bill and stuff like that. That's moving shit to me. And I'm so glad that you guys included that. And like you said, the way you did, it's not heavy-handed, it's dramatic.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. But so, you know, thank Jerry for that. Jerry's awesome. So he is.
I will. And if you get the chance, please pass this along to him and let him know. He made me a fan of his work because of the work you guys did on Deadeyes. I was encouraged to go pick up Marauders, and I've been collecting that now. So.
Cool. Yes. Yeah, no, he's a great writer. Yeah, and I love his stuff.
Before we get off of here, I do want to say a couple of things. I want to say again, thank you very, very much, John McCrea, for being here and taking time out of your day. Please thank your wife and your family as well, because I know that I've intruded. I've taken up the you know, there's no snacks available while I'm taking up this time.
Yeah, no, I know that's pretty serious stuff right there.
And I appreciate everybody coming together and helping.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Bobby. And yeah, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. You know, it's been good fun. The Dead Eyes picture is kind of, can you see it?
Awesome. I can.
Yeah.
Are you going to make that available anywhere or use that for promo?
I don't know what I'll do with it. I'll probably stick it up and sell it or something like that.
Say, maybe I'll buy it from you.
There you go, Bobby. Yeah, well, maybe I'll just post it to you anyway. Well, just fire me your email. Just fire me your address, and you might get a little present.
I will, and send me yours, and maybe I'll send you something back. Here, I just want to remind everybody too that I am giving a copy of this away. So if you've been watching this interview today, if you go back and you think about what was the first comic book that John McCrea remembers reading as a child, if you're the first person to answer that correctly, and you're also willing to provide your address or a PO box, because I know that's sensitive as well, I will ship this out to you in the next week and make sure that you are out spreading the good word about Dead Eyes as well.
Awesome.
And John, before we go, let's end it with you. Tell everyone what you're working on again with the Mighty World of McCrea, about the Kickstarter, where they can find your work, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, websites, Kickstarters. Get it out there, and then I'll include links as well.
Thank you very much. I'm on Twitter, McCreaman. I'm on Instagram, McCreaman1. I'm on Facebook, John McCrea. My website is johnmccrea.co.uk.
Okay.
And yeah, that's all the need. My Kickstarter will launch at 1st of August.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a preview sort of early July, I believe, where you can sign in and sort of be kept up to date with how it's going. And then it launches in August, runs through August. And hopefully the book, if it gets funded, the book will be out, go to print October, ship November, be in everybody's hot little hands for December for their Christmas present. So
and you'll be sharing all that throughout all your social media as
absolutely.
Well. Absolutely,
Yes, right? Absolutely. The Kickstarter isn't even close to going live yet. I've got so much work to do still. Luckily, I've got a great team of people around me, and thank you to Catherine Hemmings. Catherine has been a godsend. She's helping me with my Kickstarter. She's awesome. She produces her own comics. How to Be a Cosplayer is her Kickstarter that is live now. So if anybody wants to check that out, Kat is awesome, and she's helping me out with so much. And she's basically leading me gently by the hand through the minefield of, you know, Kickstarter. So yeah. So that's mainly my plans at the moment.
I'm a teeny little minnow out here, dude, but I will definitely be promoting it for you. So
bless you, sir. Thank you very much, Bobby. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, and for everybody out there who's listened in, I really appreciate you checking it out and listening into my blathering on. Sorry, I'm going to lean down into camera now. I'm aware maybe it's just been a talking mouth, hasn't it?
So we're watching you draw, man. It's okay.
So yeah. But thanks very much. It's been a pleasure, Bobby.
Thank you. I'll stay in touch with you on Facebook. I'll shoot you out my address and stuff in a bit, and please shoot yours back as well. I might have a couple things to send you too.
We can sort that out. Nice one, Bobby. Okay. Cheers, everyone. Thanks very much. Bye.